school choice, high quality schools that can actually make a difference immediately in the lives of these kids. And so that's what draws me to someone like Brian Jodice, who serves as the National Press Secretary for the American Federation for Children, 15 years of high quality experience working closely with AFC to advance these school choice issues that I know so many of you are passionate about. Brian, it's my honor to have you here today. Thank you for all your work.
No, it's a pleasure. It's great to be with you, Dawn, and with your listeners and watchers today. Excited to talk about this.
So take me through it as far as what you are, we look at the latest, and thank you. You had, emailed some of the latest stats, if you will, all of these different studies, whether there are new ones, there's a new national poll just out, but we could go through over the years and talk about the fact that studies prove this is a no brainer. But for you have the latest surveys and evidence, Brian, as far as the fact that people want this and yearn for this.
Yeah, Dawn, you're exactly right. And you really nailed it on the lead in too, because you painted the picture of what families across not only the Keystone State, not only across Philadelphia, but across the country have been feeling for years is that because of your zip code, they've often felt trapped in this system that doesn't meet their needs. And it's why we fought so hard, and you're such a believer in as well, this idea that regardless of where you live, regardless of where you come from, you should be empowered to send your kid to the school that best meets their needs. Find the place, whether that's public, charter, private, or homeschooling, find the place that will best meet their needs. We got to have the policies match up with what the public wants. And here's what our new poll just came out yesterday shows us: 73% of voters believe in school choice. 55% believe regardless of where you are, you should be able to get it. And so the vast majority of Americans want this. In fact, we even have polling out of Pennsylvania specifically from April that showed that 71% of Pennsylvania voters believe in this idea of school choice as well. And so it's wildly popular. It's not this controversial idea, because when you talk to real parents and families about it, they just want what's best for their kids. They want the money to be able to follow the child to the school that will best meet their needs. And we're seeing it play out. You've got some school choice in Pennsylvania. You need a lot more. We need to see the governor opt in on this federal scholarship tax credit that was part of the One Big Beautiful Bill. So there really is a path forward to create what we believe can be a golden age in American education.
And so actually, before we go, I do want to get to the next point, which is talking about the whether people are Republicans, independents, or Democrats, because that was an interesting polling question. But take me through this federal tax credit, because you have some great numbers on it. 64% of the voters favor states opting into it. What does it involve, this federal tax credit?
Yeah, it really is incredible, Donna. Here's what happened. I think it's one of the best provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and it is a federal scholarship tax credit. So essentially what's going to happen is, starting in 2027, taxpayers, donors across the country can donate to state-based SGOs. The key now is that governors and states have to opt into that. We can talk a little bit more about what that'll look like. But you'll be able to donate $1,700 to a state-based SGO, and those dollars can go directly to kids in your state to be able to use for educational services, things like tuition, tutoring, transportation, curriculum, special needs services. So it really is a revolutionary way to sort of unlock this code in the tax system to be able to help kids across the country. And what we've seen is bring real school choice to all 50 states, right? We've seen great educational policy passed in states across the country, but we've not seen it get everywhere. And what we want to have access to is equal access for families to be able to get some dollars like this to help their kids. And in those bluest of blue states, think your New York and California, is where their state legislatures won't even pass the most modest of school choice programs. This really can be a lifeline for a lot of families. And it's great for taxpayers, $1,700 off the top of your tax bill. That's great for taxpayers, great incentive. Donor-driven support doesn't cost the state a single dime. There's no money that has to be impacted in your state budget, and then it can help kids right in your state. It really is a win-win and a no-brainer.
And so for this one, just to be clear, you can earmark that money. In other words, you're here in Pennsylvania, and I'm blanking on it right now because I've done it before, but it's for my kids' little Christian school run by the Sisters of St. Joseph from, K through 8th.
Right.
We could earmark some of our state tax dollars. So it's tax that we're already going to make, that we're already going to pay. We would just earmark it for, let's say, your kids' or your grandkids or local school that's a
Yeah.
private little school.
So there are a couple details in this that are a little different from that specifically. So what families and donors will be able to do are find these state-based SGOs, and then they'll be able to donate to them. So maybe they can find one that aligns with their values or what kind of schools they'd want to contribute to. You can't earmark it for a specific kid, and it's got to serve more than 10 kids from more than two schools, right? From more than one school. So essentially, as long as the SGOs are serving more than one school, two schools, so you could set up, say, a Catholic SGO, you could set up a Jewish school SGO, any of these would be applicable. And then you could donate to those SGOs, and then they'd be able to help kids across those kinds of schools. So you can't earmark for a specific kid and say, look, I want this to go to my grandchild or my children, but you can donate into these SGOs that you would like to contribute to, and then they can help those kids that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but
Sure.
it's I think is it the EITC here in Pennsylvania? Forgive me, but
Right. So you've got some tax credit opportunities. You've got a few different programs that are serving, a good amount of kids. Obviously, more money can go into those and more kids can be served. And that's kind of the beauty of this. So in Pennsylvania, you have some programs. We'd advocate not enough, but
Mhm.
this could then be stacked on top of that to be able to help kids. Or in those areas where maybe families can't get access to those programs, they'd be able to use this as well. So that's another reason why it's a win-win. And I really can't stress this enough because we've seen some governors flat out say no right away. Wisconsin has said no right away.
Mhm.
Oregon said no right away. New Mexico said no right away. But you're not talking about taking a single dime from your state budget. So this argument that we hear that these private school programs are siphoning money away from public schools, obviously we know that's not true. It's specifically not true in the case of this. It won't impact your state budget at all. Donor-driven support to help kids. And the real question is when governors are thinking about this, you mentioned Governor Shapiro, he should absolutely opt in on this because when you're thinking about it, essentially what you'd say if you say no is you prefer Pennsylvania donors to send that money out of the state?
Yeah.
You prefer it to go to Ohio or my home state of North Carolina? We'd be happy to take it where I live in North Carolina now. I'm sure they'd love it in Florida, but wouldn't you rather keep those educational dollars in your home state?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's a scholarship granting organization. That's what SGO stands for.
That's right. That's right. And we have a bunch of details, federalscholarships.com. I'd encourage your listeners to go check that out, you as well. All the information's there. And that's really the beauty of it, right? These SGOs can exist to serve kids in all different makes and models for all different reasons. And it really lets taxpayers, help be a part of this in maybe a way they never have been before.
Yeah, to your point, it's a no-brainer. And so but the other problem, as you and I both know, this is not being reported on by the
Mm,
media because you can only imagine if the so-called mainstream media just goes out here in Philadelphia and goes out with a camera crew and says, "Did you know that you could get?" And they say, "What?" But
yeah.
nobody will
Yeah.
publicize it, so
That's
people
right.
don't even know. To your point about the
Well,
big
that's why
beautiful
we're so
bill.
grateful for the chance to come speak with you, right? And then we can continue to talk about this. And look, we are up against a giant in the teachers unions, right? The big schooling teachers unions have a grasp on this, and they're funded to the tune of $3 billion a year running through their coffers across the country. I mean, that's really incredible. And it's an uphill fight. But when you ask parents and families about it, they absolutely want it. And it's clear that something's got to change. I mean, the nation's most recent report card shows that kids across the country are falling further and further
Yeah.
behind. You don't need me to tell you in Philadelphia, they continue to fall further and further behind. 15% of eighth
Yeah.
graders in Philly public schools are proficient in math. 15%. Something drastic has to change. School choice can be a huge part of that. And unlocking a program like this can absolutely help. I got a great example, Don, that I think you'll love that really shows the disparity. Right? Philly public schools are spending probably to the tune of $20,000 a kid, would be my
At
guess.
least.
They're falling further and further behind. I love this example. Father Judge High School, Philadelphia private school, all boys school, really focused on vocation, getting these young men into the workforce. Their tuition is about $9,700, and they're sending these young men directly to good paying jobs, $70,000, $75,000, $80,000 a year right into the workforce. And they're spending half that on their students. So money's not the problem.
Mhm.
It's finding innovative ways to unlock some real educational freedom and get these kids in the environment that best meets their needs. Because if you tell a young man, I can send you right into the workforce making real money like that, that's going to impact your local economy and your community right there in Philly. Again, it seems like a no-brainer.
And, I have so many family and friends and even our priest, Father John. I'm going to hear that you gave Father Judge a shout out. Oh, great move.
Well, I had to,
Wonderful.
and my loving wife, who went to Archbishop Ryan, by the way,
Oh,
loves that example as well, because it just, again, it shows how this really can help the end user. We often lose sight of this.
yeah.
We talk so much about buildings and adults, and that's the beauty of the school choice movement, because it's empowering parents, families, it's empowering students, and that's why the teachers union fights us so hard on it.
Brian Jodice, American Federation for Children. Hope you come back. Let's continue the conversation. Thank you so much, Brian.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you.
Absolutely.